Hey, welcome to Taylor's Trick Taking Table. I'm Taylor, and Happy New Year! Today starts what we're going to be calling Japanuary on the channel. It is going to be a month of covering new, interesting Japan trick-taking games. And what's that? Oh yeah, Happy New Year. Oh, my New Year's resolution? It's to beat the crew, every mission. Oh yeah, expansion missions? Yeah, why not? Oh, I'll do it. Yes, less than a year. Okay. I'll be able to do it. I'll send you a postcard from Planet Bleeblorp or whatever that planet's called. Sorry about that. But I recently read a tweet that might be a little biased because it was not only in Japanese, but it was by the designer of Scout, which we covered in the past. But here's the tweet. And what it was saying is Japan is a super interesting place and probably the best place in the world for trick-taking design. And I want this month to kind of show how I feel like that's true. It is one of the coolest places for new designs or just twists on designs. And the first game we'll be looking at is Dog Tag Trick. It's a game by Junjin Otsubo. And why don't we go over to the dog wall to see a little bit more about this game. These mutts really put the wow in bow wow. The hook to Dog Tag Trick, though, is when players play, they don't really follow suit. You can play either 1 or 2 cards to the trick, and if you play 2 cards, you're competing in the main event, because this is a dog competition. Dog show, dog tricks, things like that. And if you play only 1 card, you're competing in the side event. Both give points in interesting ways. Let's go to the table and I'll show you how to play. The deck in Dog Tag Trick is made up of 36 cards, so it's numbered 1 all the way to 10, and there's 4 suits. What's interesting about the 5 card is that it also has the 10 on it. If a player wants to play the 10, they would just play it like this, or flip it like this if they want to play the 5. And the suits are all ranked, so each player will have a kind of helpful player guide here, which has the strength of each of the suits in relation to each other. And in addition to that, just like a fun fact, every card has a unique dog on it with really cute illustrations. So here we have a game set up for 3 players. At 3, each player will get 11 cards, and you'll take the 3 extra and just discard them. At 4, each player would get all of the cards, so 9 each. And then at 5, each player will get 8 cards. So how it works is, the start player is the person who owns 2 or more dogs. And each player will get, in addition to their cards, a helpful player guide, which also keeps track of points. So like, if this player here got 1 point, you just slide it to the right. And each has their own separate character. This one is a dog catapult, which I didn't know was an event at dog shows. And then also, they have these helpful guides for how much a trick is worth and what you can play to certain tricks. Let's say that this randomly appearing dog tin is start player. So the theme in Dog Tag Trick is you are competing in a dog show competition. And how that works thematically is when you look at your set of hands, you can choose to play either a single card, which would be competing in the sideshow, or 2 cards, which is competing in the main show. If you're playing 2 cards and competing in the main show, your 2 cards have to be a part of one of these 3 combinations here. So it could be a 2-card run, a set, 2-card set, or a 5 2-card. So cards that just equal multiples of 5 in some way. So going back to the hand here we have the tin's hand, and I'll keep on the screen the player aid so you can kind of see what you can play. But they can play pairs, or a run of 2, so there's 2 and there's 3, or multiples of 5, so like this 6 and this 4, which would equal the 10. Or if they don't want to compete in the big main show, they can just play a single card. So when you're leading, you can actually choose which of the 3 events you're playing into. So if the tin plays these 2 3s, to follow suit and play into the big show, the tuxedo dog here will have to play pairs, so maybe 2 8s. But what's interesting is the pairs are judged where the lowest pair, broken by suit rank, wins and will get 3 points, and then the second place will get 1 point. So 2 8s, while it can still compete in the show, is a relatively low chance of winning because it's so high. So maybe knowing that and looking at their cards here, they could play 2 sevens to go maybe a little bit lower, or since they have so many 10s, maybe they think they could flip this and play 2 fives. Alternatively, they could always just play to the sideshow. And how the sideshow works is it's a single card and it's just the highest card, broken by rank. So looking at the cards here, maybe Tuxedo Dog just plays this 10 into the sideshow. Then it comes to Arcanine here. Looking at their cards, they can play 2 1s, which would let them win, or they could play 2 4s, which wouldn't win, but maybe they want to save their 1s for a stronger later main show. Maybe they don't, so they just play these 2 1s. So you'd evaluate the big show, and first place would get 3 points, and second place would get 1 point. So the lowest pair, or 1s, Arcanine would get 3, and then Dogtin over here would get 1, and then you would see who played the highest of the sideshow. And since there's only 1, the Dog Tuxedo will get 1 point. You would then clean up the cards, and the person who in the main show won would lead the next trick. If the lead player doesn't know or doesn't want to declare the main show which one it is, like a 5 pair or a low pair, they can always just play to the sideshow, and then the onus would go to the next player, and they would be the one who had to decide. So maybe now it comes to the Dogtin, and they play a 7 and an 8, which is 15, and that is a high 5 pair. Continuing on to Dog Tuxedo, when it comes to them, they could play to the side trick and play this 10, and what this would do was it would get them the 1 point for the side trick, it would get the Dogtin 3 points for the main, and no one would get second main because they're the only one in the main show, and it would block out Arcanine from getting any points at all for this trick. However, looking at their hands, they could play this 6 and this 9, because that equals 15. And how it works is, you look at that yellow card in the high set, the high 5 pair, and the highest one is the 9 paw in what the Dog Tuxedo played, and then in the Dogtin, their highest is the 8 house. So since 9 is higher than 8, they would win the main show, and they get 3 points, and the Dogtin would only get 1. And since Arcanine's the only person in the sideshow, they would also get 1. Fast forwarding to the end of the hand here, so let's say it's Dog Tuxedo's turn, and they only have 2 cards left. What's interesting about Dog Tag Trick is since players can play 1 or 2 cards for the trick, players will have different amount of cards in the hand. As you can see, Dog Tuxedo has 2, whereas Arcanine has 3, and Dogtin even has 4. So, when it's the very last trick though, the main event is actually worth 5, and there is no points for second place. The side event still has 1 point. But so let's say that these last 2 cards are, in fact, a pair. So the Dog Tuxedo plays those 2 8s. It comes to Arcanine here, and they have a lower pair, so they'll play those 2 4s. Coming to Dogtin, they don't have any of those, so they are the only one in the side event, and they can just play whatever because they'll win it. And what happens is, the second place doesn't get any points. Arcanine will get 5 points because it's the last trick, so they'll go all the way to 9, and then the side will still get a point. So after that, you clean them all up, shuffle, you keep playing, and you'll play the number of hands per player, so 3 rounds. Whoever has the most at the end wins. So that is Dog Tag Trick, and I don't know if it came across in that how to play, but the gameplay is so much fun. When you get your cards, you have a ton of decision space because high cards are great, low cards are great. The fact that the offsuit, when you just play 1 card, is highest, but then most 2 of the 3 of the main suit are where the low card is actually more important, creates a perfect decision space where high cards are great, low cards are great, and you kind of can always really finagle around and get some points out of a hand, even if you have bad cards. And a note about the cards themselves, oh my god, this art is adorable. And it's drawn by the game designer himself, which is awesome. And there's dogs on every card. So you're looking at your card and you already have like all these decisions on what you want to do in the game. But even if you're just waiting for someone to play, or if you happen to just like display it perfectly, all the dogs are so cute and just fun to look at. And the graphic design and the fact that the scorecard is also your player aid, this game, for just being so small and just being one deck of cards, is so thoughtful, and it kind of exemplifies what Japan trick takers are. It's usually a small package, but with a ton of care, a ton of thought into the art, the design, the game design, and the graphic design. And you can just see how this dog tag trick game just is such a shining example of this Japanese trick-taking design. Specifically, that thoughtfulness in this game is in the game design as well. I noticed one game I had a really great hand, and I was kind of just running the table. I was winning every big show, and I realized, oh wow, because it was just at 4 and I had 9 cards. It's an odd number of cards. So I won and I kept winning shows, but I was down to 1 card, and I had to just play 1 card, and I didn't even think about it. I lost the last show, which was worth 5 points. So I did get a lot of points, but it's so cool and so clever that you have an odd number of cards in your hand. So if you have a really good hand, you're not going to even win if you run it, unless you time it really well. You're not going to win the last show, which is worth 5. It was just such a cool moment. It's just, I could just see that thought in such a simple way to implement that thought of stopping someone from having a great hand running it is just built into this game. And that whole system where second place in the big show, where the side show gets a point, is such an interesting way to block if someone has a super strong hand too. Because I was playing into the trick and winning a lot of points, but people were, 2 points were still going out. So I was getting 3, but 2 points were still going out. So it was a nice balancing thing. And what I noticed in this game is the scores are incredibly tight. I know Trick Taker can usually be swingy if it's still a good one. I think that's almost part of the genre. But this game, all the scores were super, super tight. And I think it's because in the system, points get doled out pretty equally as you play, even if someone has a great hand. I just love that about this game. Someone can never be really out of it, which is always fun. I think everyone feels invested that way. It's so cool, too, that the game ends when a player's out of cards. It adds this almost pseudo-shedding element to the game, because you're looking around and you're like, oh, I have 6 cards and that person only has 3. I need to maybe play a little stronger. I need to play a little bit more aggressively. And it's so cool, especially at 3, because at 3 you start with 11 cards. So you're in a situation where you kind of have a large decision space, but that tempo could always be there. If someone's always playing into the big show, and they're always playing 2 cards, and you might just be playing 1 or maybe 2, and that shedding feel, even though it's a trick taker, is there a little bit. And I love that. It has like kind of a little shedding taste in the game. So that is Dog Tag Trick, and I love this game so much. I don't know if I've ever had so much fun the whole time in a trick taker. It's such a weird thing to say, and I know trick takers are fun, but there's some downtime, and you're just like talking and chatting, and I feel like that's part of the genre. It's kind of like a loose thing, but there's just such a joy to this game. I'm looking at these dogs, just having such a good time, just thinking of all the things I can play and pushing my luck sometimes with holding back some strong ones, and maybe they'll play it. And you're always getting points. I don't know. It's just such a package that is always rewarding. So I fully 1,000,000% recommend this game. This totally gets the seal. So. And I'll include a link of how I got it. That is the light falling down. And that's a good start to Japanuary. I'll see you next week, and thanks for watching.